and then I'm gonna do flanks. And then turn them and just kind of dice them. I'm gonna see if my son will eat this tonight. He doesn't like potatoes unless they're crispy or French fries, but we're just getting kind of like similar sized cubes. And then I'm gonna put these right onto a rimmed baking sheet. So we're gonna mix this with some spices. And again, the oven should be preheating to 400. And I know I don't know if I've shown on this class before, but this is one of my favorite tools. It's a bench scraper, but it has sides. So when you go to move stuff, it doesn't fall off when you're moving it from surface to surface. I got it years ago, and it's like probably the thing I use the most other than knives and a cutting board. If anybody wants to tell me, like, what's your favorite kind of tacos or the most interesting combination you've had, I'd love to hear. Like you're hanging out in the kitchen, cooking with me and chatting about other food while making food.
I went to, it was my first, I had an adventure, an outside adventure on Saturday, and went to the Brooklyn Museum.
Oh, nice.
For a wonderful exhibit that my kids were also in, my men and boys and their significant ways. We had lunch at a Mexican restaurant called Guerra's.
Nice.
Actually did that name, and oh my goodness, I had carnitas and chorizo, and what was the third? El pastor.
Yes.
Little carnivore tacos, and they were incredible.
Those all sound really good. I love we like the tacos from Los Abuelos here in Ossining, and in the month that we do the Latin food conversation, I always put in links for like local restaurants and shopping things. So I'll be sure to put that in there. Mariachi Mexico in Armonk is also fantastic. It's a little kind of like upscale, and she, I think Joni, is the owner, and she grows a lot of their ingredients and just gets a lot from the farmer's market, and everything is just so fresh and delicious.
I like Hudson Taco. Have you been there?
I haven't been there. What's that?
It's in Orange County in Newburgh. And they have really, really, really good tacos. Like, they're very unique. They're super fresh. It's overlooking the river. I had like Korean barbecue short rib.
Ooh, yes.
And they have pork
that sounds
belly.
good.
And, you know, but I wait, we're talking about vegetables, right? So
No, but
so they do have vegetables. I like fish tacos a lot. I love guacamole.
have you had the fish tacos from Brothers Fish and Chips in Ossining?
Oh, I love Brothers Fish and
They
Chips. They're
are
incredible.
Fantastic.
They're yum. They're very, very solid. They're very good.
So whenever you have your sweet potatoes chopped up, gonna drizzle about 2 tablespoons of oil, whatever like high heat oil you have. You can use olive oil if you want. I'm gonna use grapeseed, avocado oil is great. A lot of people use canola. I'm not a fan of the flavor of it, which people say it doesn't have a flavor, but I find that it does. So just something that can handle heat. And I'm not measuring this exactly. I'm just kind of drizzling. And then a teaspoon of taco seasoning, whatever your favorite kind is. You can also totally make your own. I used to make my own a lot, but then these like giant cans from Old El Paso are very convenient because it comes in a big batch. But there's a lot of great like organic brands. So I'm gonna add a teaspoon of taco seasoning and a teaspoon of kosher salt. And for those cooking along, let me know if I'm going too fast or going too slow, which I doubt because I tend to chat kind of fast. But this
Uh-oh.
Go right over there. Go taco down, sweet potato down.
I have to check the dishwasher.
Ah. We have one of those mini dishwashers because my kitchen is so small, and it's like, I mean, it's just barely wider than, it's like, I think 18 inches wide, so it doesn't hold a lot, but man, is it great. So I'm just throwing some salt on there. And then I'm gonna grind on some pepper, like about a 1/4 teaspoon, just however much you like. It doesn't really, measurements really matter with baking, but when you're cooking, a lot of times it doesn't matter too much. And then you can use a spatula if you want, or I'm just gonna toss it with my hands, get everything coated. So we're gonna roast this for 20 minutes, and then we're gonna add in the black beans after that, because the black beans will dry out if we put them in the oven with enough time to cook the sweet potato.
What is your oven set at?
400.
400.
Yep. And there's if you didn't get them, there are recipe cards and they're printable. So if you so you don't have to try to remember the recipe, you can get those from the Ossining Library website. Diana put the link in the chat. We do that every month so you can have printable and easy. And I usually when you register for these, it'll also give you like the tools you need to help save a little time. So this is it for the sweet potatoes. Are yours ready to go in yet, Cynthia? Oh, you're muted. I'm sorry. That's okay if they're not. I'm gonna pop mine in and start my timer. It's very forgiving, and sometimes they seem to cook a little faster than others. So I'm gonna set a timer. Set a timer for 20 minutes. Okay. So I'm gonna wait until I get a thumbs up from Cynthia if we can. We're good to start the chimichurri? Actually, let's start the pickled onions next, because those, it's good for them to sit and marinate in the lime juice a little bit. I love all things pickled, but we're going to thinly slice some onion, red onion, and while we're doing it, we're also going to dice or like mince a little bit for the guacamole if you're making guac. So I feel like onions are only ever like gigantic or tiny, and today I got a gigantic one. So red onions are pretty mild, but if they're a little much for you, you can either soak the slices in a little bit of cold water first, like let them sit for like 5 or 10 minutes. That'll take some of the bite out of them. Or you could do shallots, are a lot more mild than red onion. So you could use those instead if you wanted. So I'm just peeling the skin off. And you can save the tips and tails of your produce. You can save them to put into veggie stock. If you make it, you just pop them in a bag in the freezer. So about a 1/4 cup of thinly sliced red onion, and it doesn't have to be exact. I'm gonna slice this in half and just kind of go here until I think I have enough. And we're just pickling them with lime juice, and it's a really quick thing. I know there's a ton of other ways you can use vinegar. But, a 1/4 cup is 4 tablespoons. So I'm just kind of breaking them up and putting them into a small bowl. Did somebody have a question with that? Okay. And so if you don't have enough of these, you can always end up making more later. And they do save in the fridge for a couple days. They'll get like more, like the white parts will get more purple, but they're still delicious. Can we throw them on top of a salad or whatever? On a sandwich. Gonna cut just a little bit more.
Ashley, did you say just lime juice you're putting?
We're going to, yeah, I'm just gonna squeeze lime juice and add a little.
Okay.
Mhm. So just as thin as you're able to slice them, it just makes them, the lime juice kind of permeates them a little faster. So I've got some sliced, and I'm just gonna cut some up finely, about 2 tablespoons for the guacamole. And they don't have to be even. And you don't need, if you don't love raw onions, you absolutely don't need these, and you don't need to put them in the guacamole. I just happen to like them. My son, he's 9, he's getting into them too. I've gotten him to eat salad if we put ranch dressing, which he used to say he wouldn't even try ranch dressing, but now he will eat a whole salad if there's ranch dressing. And like bacon bits help also, but not always. So figure however we can get him to have some more veggies and not try to like hide them, because I know that sometimes parents have to in order to get their kids to eat them, but stuff like taking them to the store with you to pick out the things, it makes them a little more likely to try things. So like picking out like, hey, we need a vegetable to go with lunches this week. What vegetable should we get? And they pick it out, and then when you go to actually give it to them, they're a little more likely to eat it. But again, kids are very finicky, like, so you can never say for sure. But all right, so I'm just scooting those off to the side, and then I'm gonna take a lime. I put 3 tablespoons of lime juice on the recipe, but really however much you need just to kind of cover them. We'll toss them every few minutes. And then this was my other, well, I have a couple very fun tricks or like tips today. This is one that like totally changed my mind in the kitchen, or like blew my mind. I always used to put in the citrus this way with the rounded part down, like to mirror the shape of this, but you put it in this way and this presses down and you get more juice out of it. Saw somebody doing it once. I was like, why are they doing that upside down? And then I saw like how much it's like, it gets pretty much all of the juice out. And if you're juicing citrus, you can like boil it in water and let it simmer on the stove, and it makes your house smell nice. Throw a cinnamon stick in there or something. So you could like reuse the skins. I've seen people use them for like homemade cleaning products and stuff too. I'm gonna do like 1.5 limes, I think. So just some lime juice, and then add a 1/4 teaspoon of salt on top. And I usually just use a little fork and I stir it around. And then whenever I think about it while I'm doing the other stuff, I'll give it another stir just to make sure that the lime juice is getting through on everything. Right. So toss that. And then the water will start, or the lime juice will start turning a little purple, and that's totally fine. But I am gonna put this to the side though, because I'm gonna get my food processor. When you ready, Cynthia? Chimichurri? Okay. This stuff, I have a friend who hates cilantro, loves this chimichurri. Like I gave her these tacos at my house years ago. She's like, I'll try it, but I don't want to hurt your feelings. I don't think it's gonna be very good. Loved it. So if you're skeptical about cilantro, maybe try to give it a try, or you could use parsley instead if you really wanted to. So if you have a food processor, I find that's the best way to make chimichurri. You could use a blender too if you wanted. But the first like mind-blowing to me trick that I'm gonna show you is with garlic and a food processor. It's a little odd on the, I don't know if we can really, the overhead's gonna be weird on it, but I'll show you from the side. We're gonna take 6 cloves of garlic, peel them, which I guess I should have done before I stuck that there. You can peel them by smashing them with the side of your knife like this. You can just kind of press down and it'll loosen the skins and you can pull them off. Or if you have one of these little, it looks like a silicone cannoli, you can put them in there with the skins on and you just press down and roll it and the skins kind of slide right off. This is a very garlicky chimichurri. If you don't want it to be quite so potent on your breath, even though you're also having red onions and stuff, you could scale back the number of cloves. So we just oil this board so it's a little slippery. All right, it's not gonna work for me today. I guess board oil and cream to keep keep your board from looking to getting all the dents in it from your knives and everything. You should try to seal the natural oils in it a little more often. Makes them look a lot nicer and it helps keep stuff from getting stuck in any sort of like dents or anything, but apparently it makes the board a little bit slippery. So I'm gonna peel 6 cloves, and then if you're doing this by hand, you can mince them really finely. If you have a food processor or a blender, if you drop them into the chute while the motor is running, it'll mince them up really nicely. Because I've found if you open the lid, put the garlic in there, and then it like chops them up, but they're kind of uneven. So this way, I think I learned this on a cooking light video years ago. And I was like, no way does that actually work. And it really does. So, show you that. Just it makes quick work of it. Okay. So I'm the same way, don't like cilantro, but love chimichurri sauce. So you like it with the cilantro in it, Emily? That's awesome. I find like sometimes you just need to find your thing for an ingredient. Like what's the one thing that you enjoy it in, and then you can maybe start liking it in other ways. So I'm gonna turn my food processor on. So the little vector out. And then it's all nice and minced. So that's my
That is a-
favorite, right?
Yeah, that is crazy good tip. Yeah. Wow.
That's my favorite way if I have to chop a lot of garlic. It's also food processors I feel like don't get used as much as they should. It's great for like slicing cabbage or something to make slaw, but there's little discs you can put in to slice. It tends to save a lot of time. All right, so we've got the 6 cloves of garlic in there, a bunch of cilantro, about 2 cups total. I have 2 bunches back here because we're gonna need some for the guacamole. If you only have 1 bunch, just save about a 1/4 cup of it. So I'm gonna rinse it off. Cilantro, I feel like tends to get a lot grittier than some other herbs. It has a lot of sand.
Ashley, Mary's asking what food processor brand do you have and how much does it hold?
I have a Cuisinart. The top line is 5 cups. I may have that. I think this one I checked and it's out of stock. But we used to have a smaller one and it was too small. They make ones that go up to I think 10 cups. So I'm just cutting the cilantro into a couple smaller pieces just to kind of help give it a little head start when we chop it. Thank you. You're welcome. And then I'm going to pop it right in here. All right, so we're going to add that. We're going to add 2 tablespoons of red wine vinegar. If you don't have red wine vinegar, you can use white wine vinegar. You could use apple cider vinegar. You could use more lime juice we're gonna put some lime juice in it, but I don't think it's too particular, but the red wine vinegar is pretty nice in it. Okay. A little more lime juice, so a tablespoon. I'm gonna go crazy and not actually measure it and just squeeze some right here. And then, let's see, lime juice, oregano. We're gonna add a 1/2 teaspoon of dried oregano. And a 1/2 teaspoon of kosher salt. If you're using table salt, the grains are a lot finer, so you can kind of see they're like chunky grains when it's kosher salt. Table salt is usually really fine, so you would only want to use 1/2 the amount because you can fit a lot more of that fine grain salt into the same measuring spoon. And you can always add more salt later if you need it. And then a 1/4 teaspoon of cayenne pepper. Totally optional. It doesn't make it spicy, but it gives it like a nice little something. My son likes it. It's not too spicy for him.
Okay, pause. Go back over the spices. I got the salt, the cilantro, the garlic done. And so it was
Have a teaspoon of oregano.
and
Have a teaspoon of salt and a 1/4 teaspoon of cayenne pepper. And you got the lime juice in there? Let's see.
Oh, vinegar.
Oh yeah, 2 tablespoons of red wine vinegar. And then while she's adding those, I'm just gonna take my fork and stir my onions again, because to make sure everything's getting coated. They just look so pretty on top of the tacos.
Yeah.
I haven't been to the taco place in Peekskill by the train station, but we were gonna go the other day, but they were closed because we're at the playground there. But I think they're reopening soon. I've never tried it, but I've heard good things. And the one in Terrytown, we really liked that one too. And then there's Mex to Go in Croton. They're pretty good. We've got a lot of options around here, which is awesome.
Mhm.
Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and close the lid to this. Put the little shoot thing back in. I one time went to stream olive oil into something and I forgot to take this out. So I went to stream it and it just collected in here. So then I took it out and streamed it like that. Just gonna run this to chop up the cilantro and everything until it's finely chopped, and then we'll stream in some oil after. Usually when I'm doing something like that in the food processor, there's a lot of like larger pieces until you kind of use a spatula to scrape down the sides. And then it'll also come together a lot more once you start putting the oil in there. Kind of helps with the pieces that were stuck, unstuck. So you can see it kind of almost looks like pesto. Let's see. Gonna measure out a 1/4 cup of whatever the oil you're using. Again, you can use olive oil. I'm using grapeseed oil. And then I'll put this back on. I'll take the feed chute cover out and then slowly drizzle it while it's on low, and that'll help it kind of emulsify and it helps everything stay together. And this is great. So the way this recipe came up, we were grilling steak and we had sweet potatoes, and I made chimichurri for the steak, and some of my chimichurri got on the sweet potatoes, and I was like, oh, wait a minute, this combo is really, really tasty. So I was like, I think sweet potatoes and chimichurri by themselves could be a really good thing. So that's kind of how it came up. So I'm gonna turn this on low and start streaming in. The sides again, you can see it kind of looks almost creamier now. That green is kind of breaking up, and it smells like, I don't know how your kitchen is smelling right now, Cynthia, but this one is awesome. It smells really, really good. Although my kitchen smells like garlic a lot, I'm okay with that. So depending on the consistency, like you can add more oil to make it more pourable. If you are trying not to eat quite as much oil, you can not. You could also, if you wanted it a little more liquidy without adding more oil, you could add a little bit of cold water. This looks good. You can taste it and see. It's kind of hard to tell by itself with chimichurri if it needs anything else, but it has a kick for sure. Like there's a lot of raw garlic in there. So I'm just gonna set this off to the side. When I'm doing this for like serving it for dinner, I'll kind of collect all of this into a nice little pitcher, like something like this, to serve it like at the table. But this is just, me and my family are having it tonight, so I'm just gonna spoon it on at the end. This side. All right, reconfigure my appliances. I will say, if you're able to find a food processor that has this thing where you can just shove the cord back in, it's really nice for storage. It tucks right back into the edge there, so you don't have like cords hanging out everywhere. All right. So I'm gonna stir the onions, see how Cynthia's doing over there. And the only thing left, let's see. The potatoes are ready. We're gonna drain and rinse a can of black beans. Usually I like the black beans that aren't low sodium, but in this recipe, it doesn't need any more salt, so I use low sodium and then I just rinse them. So the potatoes, we're gonna add black beans to the tray. So I didn't even read my own recipe right, but it's okay. I put in all of the seasoning earlier. There was usually I only do half of the taco seasoning, but it's totally fine. We'll just mix it up really well and pull the potatoes out. So I'm gonna drain this can of black beans in a sieve and then rinse them off. It gets rid of any extra like starch or sodium, especially since we're preparing this with potatoes. We don't really need additional starch. Now come out of the can. We often will have like on the side with some grilled meat, just some rice with black beans and shallots on top. Some minced shallots, really nice. So you can kind of, I don't know if you can see too well from there, but the liquid is running off kind of darker color, and there's some foam up top. So as soon as that kind of starts to subside, then you know it's rinsed pretty well. But it definitely does not have to be perfect. Alexa, stop. That was good timing for the sweet potatoes. A lot of times the sweet potatoes are already done at this point, so I'm gonna pull them out of the oven. I'm gonna toss them around with a spatula and the black beans to get everything coated, and then put it back in for another 8 minutes. But if you want, you can test when you take the potatoes out. When you take them out now, you can test just to see if they're starting to get cooked through. They look like they are already. They're pretty, like I can tell looking at them, the color is really, really vibrant. So I'm guessing just poke them with a knife. And they're already cooked, but I do want to heat the beans through. So I'm gonna add those onto this pan. Shaking out the extra water.
Did you add the whole can of beans to the?
I did. It's nice too because it bulks it up, and it's a pretty inexpensive thing to make, and it does crowd the pan. But we're not looking for like brown crispy bits on this particular recipe. So like normally, if you wanted like crispy sweet potatoes, you could do that. Don't fill up the pan and leave a little space in between them. That way, they have room to caramelize. So I'm just taking this, I'm just gonna like shimmy it to kind of get everything out in one layer again. And then I'll pop it back in for 8 minutes. Set a timer for 8 minutes. So now it's just guac. At a Mexican restaurant, when you get guacamole, when they make it at your like next to your table, they use this big tool called a molcajete, which is kind of like a gigantic mortar and pestle. So if you have a mortar and pestle, this is the mortar is the bowl, and the inside is like textured, and then the pestle is like you can use it to like crush things and stir them around. If you don't have this, I'll tell you a different way to get the paste that we're gonna do. Do you have a mortar and pestle, Cynthia? Awesome. So I'm gonna take 1 clove of garlic and put it right in there. And this, in my opinion, is what makes it taste like it does at a restaurant, is when you crush the garlic and blend the spices in with it. So I'm adding 1 clove of garlic, half a teaspoon of kosher salt. And if anybody wants me to show you how to like make a paste with garlic and salt on your cutting board, I can. Just let me know, like either say that you'd like to or just tell me in the comments. You can put it on roughly chop the garlic, put it on your cutting board, and then just kind of work the salt through it and press till you make a paste. So you can do it that way if you don't have one of these. And then I'm gonna add a 1/4 teaspoon each of ground cumin and coriander.
Ground cumin, what was the other thing?
Coriander. If you're ever reading a British recipe and you see chopped coriander, it means cilantro, because coriander is the seed that grows into cilantro. And then there's cumin seeds, which are they're used in a lot of Indian cooking too. So I'm just gonna, what's up? Okay, I'm just gonna tap this to kind of crush. Can you see how like quickly that just kind of pulverized the garlic? And then once it's kind of crushed, I'm just gonna rub and work it around here until it gets this kind of just like paste, brown paste. That is, for me, what makes it taste like a Mexican restaurant, because the garlic really mellows out and it blends with all the spices. And it's only a few spices, it's not difficult, but nothing like earth shattering. You can also, if you like jalapenos, you can add jalapenos or something like that in here too. So then since my mortar and pestle are kind of small, I usually do one avocado at a time, mash it, and then add another one. So I'm going to use 2 for this recipe. Oh, and if you're ever looking for a ripe avocado today, if you have a Latin market near you, a lot of times you can find ones that are perfectly ripe today. I got these ones at Stop and Shop yesterday, but La Placida over on South Highland, it's like down the street from Stop and Shop. They have, I can always find a ripe avocado there today.
Okay, I don't think I've ever gone away from Seatown disappointed from getting a perfect.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard their produce is great too. So the avocado skin didn't want to come off here. Also, if you go to an ethnic market versus like a mainstream grocery store, a lot of times you can get better prices on things like limes. I think they're usually like 10 for $1 or something at La Placida, so it's kind of nice. You can use a spoon to scoop the avocado out. We're mashing it anyway, so I just kind of smush it in. So I'm going to crush this one down. Now that that's mostly down and I have a little more room, I can add another avocado. That's a good one. I feel like there was an avocado shortage at some point and it was like impossible to find a good avocado. And if you would get it and try to wait for them to ripen, they would just like, they wouldn't be ready. And then like the next day they would be black.
Yeah, there was some issue with growing them and then they got like really expensive and then, yeah, it was some growing thing. Yeah. I love them though.
Yeah, they're so good. You can freeze avocados and then you can use them in things like smoothies, or I don't know if it would be good for guacamole, but you can absolutely freeze them. All right, so once you can, some people like their guacamole a little lumpier, like that's, I guess, is that a good word? Chunkier than others. My husband likes it pretty smooth. I don't mind some heft in there, but I'm gonna add in a 1/4 cup of cilantro. I'm gonna chop. You could, if you want smaller pieces of cilantro, and again, like for the cilantro non-fans, you can grind this up after you grind the garlic and the spices. You could grind the cilantro up with it, and then it'll be finer and it might not bother you as much. But I really like cilantro, so I'm gonna just kind of roughly chop it. And the stems are good too. You can totally include the stems. I have a friend who told me that if you don't like cilantro, you just have to include the stems and it won't taste soapy to you, but I don't know if that's true. At this point, I'm gonna take the pestle out because it's getting very full in there, and the stuff I'm just gonna stir in. So we've got avocado, cilantro, about a tablespoon of lime juice. And this is one of those things where after I mix it all together, I always just taste it and see if it needs more. Like usually if it doesn't taste like amazing, it needs either a little bit more lime juice or a little bit more salt. Those usually fix all sorts of things. I'm gonna put the minced red onion. Again, that's totally optional. You can use less if you want. I suppose you could grind that down too if you wanted the flavor of it without the pieces. And then I like adding tomato into it. I have these Campari ones. Usually I'll use like grape tomatoes or just a little bit. I think it adds some color. And me and my family are tomato fiends, so just kind of. And this is nice too when you can get like the colorful tomatoes and adds a nice little pop of color in there. I've also made I was grilling once and I made a guacamole that I grilled some pineapple and I cut that up and put it in there. It was a really nice like sweet and salty combination. Okay, so just that's probably good on. Alexa, stop. This is great timing because the guacamole is just about done. All right. Ooh. Off. Let that sit. Did I put? Yeah, I ground the salt in with the spices. So just mix it together, and that's it for the guacamole. And it really, it's one of our favorite things to have. You can keep it if you make it in advance. You can either place a piece of plastic wrap down touching the avocado or the guacamole. So like let it sit flat. If you have like, I use these beeswax. It's like, it's material coated in beeswax on one side. So you can seal bowls and stuff and just the heat of your hands kind of forms a seal. But I would just press it down so that it's completely covering the surface. That way it doesn't oxidize and it'll help it not brown. But if it does brown a little, you can just stir it. It's totally edible still. But yeah, these beeswax wraps are nice if you're looking for an environmentally friendly plastic wrap alternative. Yeah, so I'm gonna taste it on a chip. I usually wait to add more salt until I taste it on a chip, because if you buy chips that are salted already, you might think you need more salt, but you really don't. So I hope they don't make a crazy crunching noise on here. That's pretty good. I'm gonna add a little more lime juice. And I think that's
I
it.
can't tell you how much I want some of that right now. Like,
I really want that. Like seriously,
too,
I love
Mary.
guac.
It's
Guac rocks.
too.
and it's I think if you can get avocados on sale, it's so affordable.
I just need a margarita now.
Yeah, usually, I might actually ask my husband for margaritas or palomas. We were talking about that earlier. Those would be really nice with it. Grapefruit juice and tequila. So that's the guac. The only other thing to do is plate. Is your guac tasting good? We got the taste test? Yes. Oh, and if you happen to take a picture of it, or if you make it at home later and you happen to take a picture, I would love to see it. You can tag me on social media at Big Flavors, or you can hit, am I on the email that came out from the library? I don't know. My email is, I'll put my email in here in case.
Yeah, I can send it, whatever. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I got some really nice emails after some of the other programs we've done here. So I always love talking to them. That's my email address. And then on like Facebook and Instagram, I'm at Big Flavors. Okay. If you want to heat up your tortillas, I like flour tortillas with this. It does make it a little bit like they're more pliable. It makes it a little nicer. So can use a taco holder because I'm a big nerd, but it makes them stand up really nicely. So I'm putting that on my plate. What are my tortillas? You can, if you have a gas stove, you can warm up tortillas right on the flame on the burner. I have electric, so I can't do that. You can microwave them. I'm sorry. I thought I heard somebody. You can microwave them covered with a damp paper towel to kind of steam them. I do that often, but I've started using the full silicone, reusable silicone bags that I have. And I don't put any water or anything. I just like kind of crimp it a little bit shut. And then I microwave it for like 30 seconds. And I like using this or something that's covered. I know they make like tortilla warmers because you can bring it out to the table still in that container and it keeps them warm. So when you go back for seconds or thirds, or we're not judging you, maybe fourths, you can easily, they're still warm usually, or you can just pop them back in the microwave. And if you have sour cream, or I use plain Greek yogurt, I like that on these tacos. So plate. Just take tortillas. They're very hot when they come out of this bag. I'll do 3 because it looks pretty, but I'll be sharing. Although this does flip over, this taco holder flips over. You can put it up this way. The whole 2. It doesn't fit on plates as easily, unless you have really large dinner plates. So I'm just gonna spoon a little bit of the sweet potato and black bean mixture into each one. I haven't tried this with other types of beans yet, but I think it would also be good with different kinds of squash, like butternut squash might be great. Ooh, maybe butternut squash and white beans, like getting crazy. So I've got that. I'm gonna pour on some of the chimichurri. Made mine a little thicker today. And just make sure everybody that you're eating or that you live with eats the chimichurri if you want to like have a close conversation with them, because it'll make your breath pretty potent. But I think some of the best food does. So got that. Put a little plain Greek yogurt. If you're buying Greek yogurt, make sure always that if you think you're getting plain, you're not accidentally getting vanilla, because the packages are the same color pretty often. This is some that I made. I make yogurt in my Instant Pot and then I strain some of it in a nut milk bag to thicken it. So we have some Greek style yogurt and some plain. And then take some of the quick pickled onions. But that is it. They're like really, really pretty and colorful, and I've had several meat eaters, non-vegetarians that are very, very happy with these tacos, even though they are non-meaty. So, you doing all right over there, Cynthia?
How's yours looking, Cynthia? Yeah?
Oh yeah. Oh, and if you like hot sauce, I usually throw some Cholula on there. Yeah. But yeah, I just love how like you're able to make things with the different garnishes like pretty colorful, and the chimichurri can be made in advance. The filling could even be made in advance easily. You could make more. You could make 2 trays of it and then have some flavors. Oh, beautiful!
Looks good.
Oh yeah,
Nice.
awesome. All right. Well, I thank you guys so much for joining me. Like I said, next session is April 4th, and we're going to be talking about
April 6th. April 6th.
April 6th, 4th. Sorry. Tuesday. So these are always on Tuesdays. They're usually like every other, unless the month is a little wacky. talking about Asian cuisine. And then April 20th at 6, we'll be making the Vietnamese fresh spring rolls. And then if you want, if you're interested other than my library programs, my next, I have a kids cooking class this Sunday at 2:30. We're making peanut butter cookies. And anybody can email me or I can put links in if you're interested in that. And I hope you enjoy it. And thank you guys so much for joining today.
Thank you
Yeah.
very
Thank
much.
you. That was
Thank you,
wonderful.
Ashley. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you
so
Ashley.
much.
That was fun.
Thank you. Dinner.
You're very welcome.
Everybody check out the LibGuide that I put in the chat box so that you can get the recipes if you didn't have them already. They're all there. Okay. All right. Enjoy.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks,
Bye.
Michelle. All right.
As soon as I
Take
tell my
care.
family that dinner is ready, that I'm done, they're like, run down the
Yeah,
stairs.
right. Of course. Yeah.
Thank
That's
you.
great. Oh my gosh, that looks so good. Oh,
They're,
man.
they're very tasty.
Yeah, I definitely am going to do this. Yeah. Great. All right, Ashley. Take care. Thanks so
See you in a
much.
few weeks.
Okay. All
Bye.
right. Be well. Yeah.
You too.
Bye-bye. Yeah. Bye.